remind you to remember the day of horseless carriages and divorceless marriages.
Dear Miss Garland, I presume that in your memory you've enough room to reach infinity or that vicinity.
My heart booms like it had a
Hello and welcome to the In My Defense podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and this is the show where I bring on a guest to geek out over a subject of their choice, no matter how broad or niche it might end up being. This week, my guest is David Hepburn. Dave is yet another member of the Black Improv Alliance, a group doing terrific things in the improv community. Definitely look them up if you get the chance. And the subject of Dave's choice is Season 1, Episode 6 of Lovecraft Country, titled Meet Me in Daegu, or Daegu. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, somebody please correct me. I was so happy when Dave reached out to me interested in discussing this show, this episode, and its themes. I really enjoyed watching Lovecraft Country on HBO when it was released, and I was looking forward to any excuse to express my feelings about it on the show. It feels needless to say so, but spoiler alert for Lovecraft Country, we discuss episode 6 in depth and also bring up several plot points across the season, including the finale. So if you haven't seen the show, what are you doing? So many of us are stuck at home at the time of this recording, and you're going to do something with your time that isn't watching the show. I highly recommend it. I believe Lovecraft Country is a show that, while it is not made for everybody, it is definitely a show that everybody should watch. So pause this episode, grab a snack, grab a few snacks actually, make a day of it, and tune into some cosmic horror. When you're done, tune in to this lovely conversation with me and David on Meet Me in Daegu.
Caress me, 'twas then heaven blessed me. What a bless, what a bless, what a bless, no one knows. You made life cheery when you called me dearie. 'Twas down where the bluegrass grows. Your lips were sweeter than julep when you wore a tulip, and I wore a big red.
I am here with one of my friends, David Hepburn. Say hi to everybody, David.
What's up? Hey, everybody. David Hepburn here, live. Well, not exactly live, but you know what I mean. Virtually live. I believe I'm live. Who knows? Watching this show, everything's supernatural. Anything's possible. I might be in a multiple dimension or universe. Who knows? I'm not sure. We'll figure it all out. But for now, I'm just going to say hello.
That is the kind of energy that I really want someone bringing to this episode, because we are talking about something really fantastic. We are talking about the show Lovecraft Country, specifically the 6th episode of season 1, Meet Me in Daegu. Yeah, it's a wild one. Why? So David, this was your idea. You approached me about talking about this episode. Why did you want to talk about this episode specifically?
This episode hit different for me. When I first heard the rumblings of Lovecraft Country, I saw a trailer just by chance, and I thought, oh, cool. This is going to be my new HBO show, like True Blood. It gave me the vibe of, oh, this will be the new True Blood. It's supernatural. What? Black folks? Yes. Give me more of that. And the supernatural and just great stars. And it just looked like this is cool and interesting. And I'm totally in, because I love ritual. I love having a routine. I love having some kind of a show that you get to kind of come in and watch over and over again. Maybe it's part of me being an 80s baby. And, you know, everybody has some sort of a history of something that you get to galvanize around and sit around and watch this thing and keep coming back to it. So I like that. So I was hopeful. I was very hopeful. The first few episodes I thought were wildly uneven, where there were moments that were great, but then there was lots of filler and there was lots of, you know, everything didn't quite coalesce and everything didn't quite hit. So, you know, it was always interesting. And the one thing that I would have to commend the show on is it's always striving to do something admirable, that even when it's not a perfect episode and even when it's not in its totality successful per se, as far as hitting me in a certain kind of way, it always is reaching for something substantial in a way that most shows aren't. And it's still pretty clear early in that this is a very special show at a very particular time, and it is doing things that most shows don't dare attempt. So it's always admirable, but this episode immediately became my favorite episode. And for me, it was a perfect episode. And I almost want to call it Meet Me in Deja Vu, because this was one of those things that I watched and I thought to myself, did I write this episode? Is there a term for that? Like, I don't know if there's an actual term for when you see something creative and when you look at it, you're like, somehow in another dimension or at another time, I wrote this or I created this or I sculpted this or I shot this. I know I did. I just can't prove it.
I know there's parallel thinking. Sometimes that happens where like there's two different stories that basically have the same plots are just released around the same time. We had that over a couple decades with like Armageddon and what's the other one? Impact.
Deep Impact or
Deep Impact coming around the same time. It happens every once in a while. Every once we see that when like two different ideas are being released around the same time, based on like whatever thoughts are going on through the zeitgeist. And I'm sure that happened with this just because Lovecraft Country came out in a time where like there's so many where racial contentions are so prevalent in the news nowadays, especially over the last few months, since everybody was like stuck at home and people were going and like with violence and what's happening in the world and everything today. The thoughts are coming up, like how do we take the power back? I think those are the ideas that this show's playing around with, like how do we come back from abuse within our family or from the world, or how do we deal with our own insecurities and monstrosities that we put out into the world? How do we come back from that, and how do we take the situations that we've been in and put it out into the world in a positive way? I think those are the kind of themes that this show plays around with very often. So when it ends, what turned you around on this episode in particular?
In particular, this tapped deep into what I'm going to call the hopeful romantic in me. I kind of like to call this discussion Black Love in the Hour of Chaos, because I keep going back to these images of ultimately two people. And again, this is a deviation from the Atticus and Letty story, which I love seeing a Black woman who is just down for her man, and vice versa, a Black man who is willing to give his life for his woman. Again, these are classic historical romantic ideals. They're biblical allusions, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, the idea of two people who just love each other against all odds and literally in the face of utter catastrophe just hits me in such a visceral way. And I'm here for it and I'm standing for it. And this did it in this episode because it tackled something that I think I've always been fascinated with, the concept of love conquers all, and that's kind of the, cliche. But as a writer, the idea of having two lovers who literally have to overcome the impossible in order for the two of them to connect and find love. And here I thought they did it in a poignant manner and in a very brave and bold manner. And the show is good for doing the literal, but then also having all of the layers. It's very meta, but it finds a way to get all of the different notes and all of the music and the orchestration of getting an idea across, from being very on the nose to then having some really cerebral underlying subtext. And I applaud it, and they really did it well here in particular.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So some details about the show and this episode in particular. So, creator of Lovecraft Country, it's an HBO original show. Creator is Misha Green, and she's also the head writer on the show. One of the notable producers is Jordan Peele, who we've heard of, who's making a big name, who started out in comedy but is now making a big name.
He's making a splash. He's making a small splash in Hollywood.
Oh, and a fun fact that I'm looking at just on IMDb right now, this is one of the highest rated episodes of the season. I think it's
you don't say.
It's tied with Jigaboo, which was the Jigabobo, sorry.
Gotta be careful out here in these streets.
Sorry, that was my bad. That was the D-centered episode, which was a couple later, and then the only episodes that top it, I think, are the first one.
What are y'all thinking? Ashamed of yourselves.
Let me see, but this one was written, the teleplay was by Misha Green, and let me see, the other writer
Kevin
was
Lau.
Kevin Lau, yes, that was right.
Yes. The other thing I found fascinating about this, to find that the director was Helen Shaver.
Yes.
Which really, I didn't even know she was directing, and I particularly imprint on her from The Color of Money, which is one of my favorite films, and she plays Paul Newman, also known as Fast Eddie Felson's love interest in that. So to see that she's out here doing some quality ass work, Helen Schaefer, God bless you, daughter.
And then this episode, some interesting things about it, like you talk about it being different from the rest of the season so far, which I think is very true, because like one of the when you get into one of the first things that we don't see the main character of the show until like halfway through.
I
think Atticus comes in like minute 28.
And boy, does he come in blazing, puns intended. The other thing that's funny is when I saw the lead up to this, I was like, oh, shit. We're going to have to go to Korea and it's going to be political. And I mean, again, I'm not knocking that. And this is nothing against the culture at all. It's just that it felt like it was going to be sort of a documentary type departure where we're going to get into just a lot of stuff that was just going to be a lot less fun, I thought.
Yeah, because they had been teasing. Well, they've been teasing like these details for a while, right? Like ever since like the very first episode, we see Tick having like the opening scene is him during the Korean War, but like it's thrown in with all like the Cthulhu imagery and all like other kind of stuff, right? And him calling Gia on the phone while they're at the Braithwaite house. Checking in on her, because like, so there's something about his experience in Korea that we've seen so far that is haunting him to a certain degree, and we're left wondering what it was. We even get like the whole illusion of Gia attacking him and trying to kill him while he's in the Braithwaite house. And and apparently, like, these are visions of people that the three main characters at that time, like, they were seeing visions of people that they loved. So we knew that Tick loved whoever Gia was, but for some reason was seeing her attacking him, whereas Letty had visions of Tick and them being together, and then George had visions of Tick's mom coming in. Right. And so like when we get to episode 6 finally and we see why that is, it makes a lot more sense now going back.
Oh, it explains a hell of a lot. Because they have been laying some serious breadcrumbs, and those tense, mysterious phone calls to a unnamed Korean woman have been haunting, to say the least. And he got the hell up out of there for some reason. And this is the episode that explodes that all out. So yeah, this brought so much to light. And again, we depart, first of all, I mean, there is your Prestige episode in the Prestige show where you decide, you know what, we're just going to leave this and go to a whole nother country or continent and depart from everything we've been doing. We're not going to worry about any of the other characters and give this person their little, you know, their cell episode. So it immediately distinguishes itself, like you said. And then by the time Tick comes into play, well, first of all, they set this thing up in a theater to begin with. So let's speak to the cinephile in me. You open in a movie theater, I get all these illusions of Cinema Paradiso. You see this wide-eyed ingenue who is captivated by the silver screen and the magic of that. And again, we don't have to get into the whole thing of the projection of the mind and all this other stuff, but just, it's beautiful. And I feel like I'm watching a foreign film, and it has all of the whimsy and the beauty of, you know, watching these other, just all these other things. So Cinema Paradiso kept playing in my head. But then when the two perverts decided to leave the theater, in my head I said, this is a perfect time for an old school MGM dance number. And when she goes into the choreography, I was like, okay, either they incepted me or this is like some type of choose your own adventure show and I am directing this show.
Big shout outs to Jamie Chung for
my
the opening scene there.
My God, she's done some award worthy work in this episode in particular.
But the directing is done really well too, because I like it's almost kind of heartbreaking when you see it. The dance number is all in her head, and she's just kind of like watching.
Oh my God. There. Oh my God. It is gut-wrenching, and she is stoic. She is a statue there watching this, and all of that is playing inside of her. And again, the illusion of her being this person or this thing or this spirit or entity that is trapped inside of someone that cannot actually relieve itself, that can't be exhumed or whatever, just can't get out, but also is living vicariously.
There's a few themes that this episode plays with that the whole show touches on throughout. But I think you're absolutely right in saying like the one that's up front, the one that everyone can see, is that love conquers all, which I love also. Like anytime like the villain loses thanks to the power of friendship or the power of love, I am down with that 100%. I want that more in my cinema. I'm tired in my life also. Like I'm tired of the dark and gritty. I'm tired of
nihilism.
Yeah, I'm tired of that being cool. I want people just to be doing their best and to work things out at the end of the day, because that is the fantasy, right? Because that's the thing that we should all be striving for. We know I'm already well aware that in the real world, things a lot of the time turn out to be shit.
Right.
And so like if the media that I consume can show me a world where trying your best and loving and being kind can actually work out in the end, that is all I ask for.
Thank you. And also that scene where we see her and realize that it's all a fantasy that's just playing in her head also made me say, if life were but a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because she's doing the same thing that we're doing, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
She is, like you said, living vicariously through the movies that she watches. Big shout outs to Judy Garland.
And meet me in St. Louis or St. Louis. Don't want to piss somebody off. I know there's a difference.
St. Louis.
What an open, man.
And then we find out later on, like, why she's so stoic, right? Why? Because another theme that this episode in particular is trying to get across is that what makes you a monster isn't necessarily what you do, but what you strive for, or just because you've done terrible things does not make you. It does not make you a monster. It does not make you who you are. You choose that at the end of the day. Because we find out later on that Gia, this character Gia, that she is a kumiho. Basically, when Gia was a little girl, she was sexually assaulted by her stepfather, I think it was.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And her mother summoned her mother goes to the mundang or the local shaman mudang, and summons a kumiho to inhabit the body of her daughter and to get revenge. And so like the first person the kumiho kills is the stepfather, but her daughter won't become human again until she consumes
100
souls total, 99 more male souls when she has sex with them. So and that is the driving force of this episode, right? Like her mother's like, they have this whole thing planned out. Like Gia will seduce a man, bring him home. They have a whole room full of candles. I'm always like, that I've always, I knew something weird is going on just because like she brings that Japanese guy home, and like when she brings him home, the room is already lined with candles all around.
Yeah. Almost like it's a internment. Like somebody's body is about to be prepared to be sacrificed and delivered to to the gods for consumption.
Yeah, like no matter how beautiful you are, I'm asking questions when I walk into the room when that happens. And then they do the deed. They have sex, and then when the man comes to climax, as he's coming to climax, several tails start coming out of Gia's body, wrapping around him. And
let's back this up a little bit, because I think I do want to delve a little bit into unpacking the original conceit that the mom had. So her daughter, first of all, the mom was targeted apparently by the man who became her husband, which became Gia's stepfather, knowing that they had affluence, had lost that, and then also lost respect in the community. And, by having this man come in, that they would be able to reestablish their status. Yeah. The idea that consuming his soul now means that she also has absorbed his memories means that this little girl who was violated now has to live with not only the memory of being violated, but now also the memory of the violator.
Mm-hmm. And like there's talk about and there was talk about Gia not actually having the memories of the little girl. Like she sings a song to her mother's song, but it turns out like that was a song that her stepfather sung to her. But like it's one of those things where we don't know what's true or what's not, right? Because we don't know exactly how much the kumiho remembers from the little girl. and how much is strictly from the stepfather. Because there's always talk about like, you have no emotion, you're a monster, you don't understand what it's like to be human. But we see that Gia can learn all that, and that it was probably all there from the beginning. And the only reason why she thought of herself as a monster was because her mother kept telling her that she was a monster.
Right. I guess I'm just thinking the concept though of women and their bodies, and the idea of the violence that has been brought upon from the worst case scenario, what's supposed to be your mentor that becomes your tormentor, and then to have to digest that and live with that, but then also have the kind of become it's just like an additional violence of now having to become the person who committed that violence. I think this whole concept of, I want to become the monster in order to save myself from being the victim has always been problematic to me, and I don't think that it is the most excellent solution. And I think that is kind of well depicted here, because she changes status and becomes the monster, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And the perpetuation, I think, of that is we're still in the same nightmare. Mm-hmm. It's just the roles change.
Yeah, nothing's gotten better. Like, there's still the same amount of monsters in the situation after. Like, it's one of those things. Like, if you kill a murderer, the amount of murderers in the world is still the same.
Right. Right.
If you kill a monster, there's still the same amount of monsters out there. And yeah, and those are the themes. And I'll definitely bring up something a little bit later about that theme of becoming the monster, or trying to ignore that violence and end up finding it somewhere else. Because that definitely comes up in this episode, and it is definitely something that is a theme throughout the whole season.
And again, so as far as this being a landmark episode, they did nothing to set up, or very little to set up, this nine-tailed fox, the spirit of this Camino. I did not expect what happened. And it was gloriously outrageous and mind-blowing, the way it happens. The one thing I did notice is that when she was doing the speed dating, and when she ultimately ends up going to the bar where she picks up this gentleman, she does, I believe, have on a fox bracelet.
I did. Yeah, I know. I rewatched the episode this morning. I still didn't notice that.
Nice touch.
Yeah. It's
shocking in the best possible way.
Which I think it's something that this show got really good at, right? Because like they established early on that their magic does exist in the world.
Yes.
Not everyone. Well, most people are not aware of it, but there is still like a culture of magic. And we see that throughout America, when the show's in America, and then we see that here too. So like whether humanity is, I don't know if the show will ever get into these kind of details, but whether humanity is ignoring the magic, or if there's some active force like veiling all these things from sight. I'm sure the show might go in that direction later on, but we are both surprised and then also not surprised because we know anything can happen,
right?
And then when we see something happen, it's like, oh my god, that can happen.
Yeah, it's just, again, I felt good also because I had seen a depiction of the nine-tailed fox in an anime, so I was like, oh, I've seen this, but never quite realized to this degree. And just exceptionally well done. It was horrifying, and I mean, hats off to the special effects team. I was trying to find out if they had like an actual name of a particular team, but there's so many people to name, and I didn't see any collective. But the effects are astounding. The cinematography is gorgeous. Again, the actors are all top notch. But that scene, man,
because like while Jamie Chung is a beautiful actress and a beautiful person, like the tails themselves are like, they're made of a furry, long, thin strands of fur.
Tails.
And it's like, yeah, they're straight up like, and not even, they're like mangy tails coming out of her.
Yeah, with teeth, I think, in them.
Oh man, and like the ones that come out of her eyes and go onto the other guy's eyes, and like they just kind of encapsulate
have like suction cups.
Face. Yeah, it's terrifying, and it's funny because like you might not even think it was a nine-tailed fox from the beginning, just because like the nine-tailed fox is a prevalent image in like Eastern cultures. Like you see it in Japan and Korea,
even in Naruto, right?
Yeah,
there's a nine-tailed fox, I think.
Yeah, and like there's a Pokemon called Ninetales. It's an image that a lot of people are familiar with, but those images are usually very beautiful, right? Like you see the image of the nine-tailed fox, and it's this tall, statuesque figure and with white fur, and it's elegant. And then we see this version of it, and yeah, it is very much a monster. It is, and at the end of this scene when she's wrapping up this guy, like he just explodes in a pool of blood, no organs, and just becomes
absolute viscera, just
becomes liquidized.
Oh man, it is beautifully macabre,
especially when the mother comes in and she just starts cleaning.
Oh yeah, very casual. Very casual.
This was number 98. Okay, and then just bring out the bucket and just start wiping the floor.
I do take art with the mom, because the mom comes in with like a face rag and like a toothbrush, and I'm like, you're gonna be there a while. Like there has to be, at this point, we're at 99. You should have a better system than this, Uma. I mean, really, because this is laughable.
We got to see if any of those dirt devils or those fancy vacuum cleaners were made in the 1950s.
Listen, if she could light candles from one candle, that's the part that would have caught my attention. When she lit one candle and then all the candles went up together, I was like, okay, we may need to have a conversation or take the show on the road, whichever. But yeah, those 9 tails and 9 orifices, do the math. It is disgusting.
Yeah. And then later on, as the episode continues and we get to know Gia a little bit more, her conversations with her mom, and like I think the first conversation that we see in the episode, we skipped it, was her mom getting the kimchi ready, and it seemed like a perfectly normal conversation. Like
it is really they really disarmed us well, because they don't show their hand, yet they're still giving us foreshadowing. You know what I mean? That kimchi looks.
Uma just becomes the doting mother who wants to marry off her daughter, and her daughter we think of her daughter as just this person who might have grander plans for her future and doesn't necessarily want to get with a man right away, but she's doing it for her mother.
She's a Disney princess at the beginning.
Yeah, totally. And so like I think that's what catches us the most off guard, right? Like when we get to that nine-tail scene later on.
Because again, they played it so well that you just assume she's trying to get these gentlemen suitors. And then this other illusion of prostitution, which is I think is another thing that comes in, whether it's intentional or not. But yeah. So that scene changes the game completely.
Yeah, and another cool thing about this episode is that like all this is in Korean. Like nobody's speaking English unless they're talking to someone who doesn't speak Korean, basically.
Yeah, beautiful.
So like the first half of this episode is just all in subtitles. It's very Inglourious Bastards, where no everyone is speaking a language that they would be speaking in these situations.
Then again, and it is authentic, or at least it feels authentic, but it still also it puts us outside. We're still outside watching, so we still get the same thing about the idea of being trapped inside of a body, looking through the projector in the lens of your eyes to see all this other stuff that's playing, but we are now, as the viewer, outside of a thing that we can't connect to.
But one of the beautiful things, one of my favorite things about subtitles, and one of the things that makes it more difficult for me to watch like longer series that are subtitled, is because when you have to read the dialogue, it forces you to pay attention. You're taking in every single word that people are saying, because like you can't be distracted on your phone while watching the first half of this episode. You have to know who these people are, and I think it does it helps bring you in. Like, yes, it's a situation that you might not be able to relate to, but this show, as we've seen, is very good at telling the stories of people in an entertaining way, even if you might not relate to them immediately, because like
it's almost like learning a foreign language. With the subtitles.
And like I think about like the whole show in general, like I think I really want to say about Lovecraft Country is that this show is very much about the Black experience, in America at the very least, and it's talking about like these like unequivocally Black people, American Black people, and I'm gonna get like honest and vulnerable with you for a second, David. I really wanted to talk about this show on this podcast, but there was no way that I could. I'm so glad you approached me about it, because there was no way I was going to go up to somebody and be like, look, because I can't talk about this show without having someone who's black on the show. And so, because I didn't feel like there's no way that I could bring that knowledge and depth to it, right? And so when I couldn't go up to one of my friends and be like, hey, I need a black person, can you be black on this show for me? There was no way that was ever going to work out for me. There was no way. So
it's funny because I've listened to other people who have said like they've wanted to comment, like so I heard someone on a podcast and he was like he wanted to comment on things, but just he could not do it. He can't do it. And then even just like, you know, some of the titles, it's almost like you can't even say the title. You'd have to have somebody else on there so that you can have license to say the title. It is unequivocally black for sure. But I also don't think that means that the show is unapproachable for someone who isn't black. It's not inaccessible. No, not at all. Because not at all. I've said people before, this show is not made for everybody, but it's something that everybody should watch. Absolutely. Yeah, but you definitely can't come in if you're gonna have if you're gonna be sensitive and you're gonna wear a thin veil of white privilege. This may not be the show for you for sure.
Yeah.
But that's not the show's fault.
Yeah, it's not the show's fault at all. The show is trying to say something here, and I think it succeeds on a lot of those fronts. Back into the episode, as the show continues, we see more of Gia's life. We see her working in the hospital, becoming a nurse. She meets what's the name of her friend?
Young Ja.
Young Ja, yeah. She meets young Ja, who seems to be someone who wants to get to know Gia, and that makes it easier for Gia to get into that relationship. I don't know. The relationship seemed
very flirty to me at the beginning.
Very
for
flirty,
sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like Gia has that line about our mothers wanting what's best for them, but not necessarily what's best for us. So she's doing that while caressing Gia's hand.
Yeah.
Whether that was meant to be sexual or not, or whether it started off sexual and then it just became a genuine friendship, either way is totally valid. But like Gia learns to care about young Ja, and like they build like this budding friendship over it, but then they see like I'm gonna call it an American occupation of Korea during this war, where like the Americans are on the hunt for the communists, and Gia and Young Ja are just trying to get by. And then we get to about halfway through the episode. I'm gonna skip over some things a little bit, but we can
also they related to each other in a way, honestly, where I almost thought maybe Young Ja was also a Kamihu at one point in time, because it seemed like some of their conversation was almost veiled in a way where she was like, I really understand where you're coming from, and she seemed to mirror the experience of Gia, and I kind of had that thought for a while.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I would say Gia, while not human, is having a human experience. Like I think because what this show is very good at is using like these supernatural situations to act as metaphors for real life situations. So I'm sure there's not a lot of people out there that can't relate to the idea of your parents wanting something of you that you just don't want for yourself, but then you going through with it anyways, because that's what's happening here, right? Like Gia has to kill 100 men, not really for herself. She doesn't really care about doing it or not. Like she's doing it because she thinks that's what she's supposed to do, and that's what her mother wants.
Yeah, it's the obligation to sacrifice yourself on behalf of the greater good of the family as a whole, or even just mother-daughter relationships being very complicated, and I need to do this thing. I have to go to Harvard. I have to go to Yale. I have to, go to Georgetown because this is what my parents want, or I'm coming from 3 generations of lawyers, or whatever that commitment is, that you don't have autonomy. Mm-hmm. You're obligated.
And Young Ja comes in as someone who it's like, no, you can do it. You can do whatever you want.
But this is also her first foray into feelings.
Yes.
It's the first time she realizes that she does still have the capacity for the human expression of friendship.
Yeah, and then we as the audience can ask ourselves, is the Kumiho really emotionless, or was it just responding to the behavior that the mother was filling out, right? Like her mother treated her like a monster, so she acted like one. And then when someone comes in and be like, no, you're not a monster, you can do whatever you like, you still have agency, you're still able to do whatever makes you happy, then that's when the emotions start coming out. And then we start seeing Gia as a more human figure, or she starts seeing herself as a more human person, in that maybe turning back into human may not be necessary, right? Because she's capable of feeling
the
these
indoctrination
things.
Again, the idea that you are basically being molded and crafted by the people closest to you, and again, this idea of whether they're going to be mentors or tormentors, she is burgeoning and basically going through her adolescence, if you will, from being a child into coming into her own sense of self. She's just becoming self-aware, if this is the Kamihu. And that brings up a lot of questions.
Yeah, right. I also question whether like Young Ja was, you said the word indoctrination, was Young Ja who may or may not have actually been a communist spy, but if she was
she just trying to get her as a proselyte? Was she trying to convert her?
Yeah, was she just trying to like she saw a vulnerable young woman, and was she just trying to like turn her over to her side? That's totally possible too. Like,
it
the
is
show
very plausible.
Does not straight up answer that. Like,
and it doesn't shy away from those complications or that duality or duplicity in human personality, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we see the manhunt for like Communist Party members in Korea. We see Young Ja talking about it, and how like people are seeing the communists just as much as monsters. I think that's where Young Ja is coming from, right? Like, people see communists as monsters, and so again, this show just themes on top of themes on top of themes,
layers on top of layers.
Oh man, and then Gia brings in an American soldier to the house, and that's where we have the conversation where she rebels against her mother a little bit. Like, she refuses to take another soul after taking number 99, and like she reduces Uma to tears. And again, it's just playing the balance of like, where is the monster and where is the human in this situation, right? Like,
well, like we said, her relationship with Young Ja is awakening a sense of autonomy.
Yeah.
And it gives her the wherewithal and the strength to stand up to her mom, perhaps for the first time, and to start making her own decisions. And it is a magnificent scene. And again, Jimmy Chung is doing some magnificent work.
Yeah, and going back to what you said earlier, when she does exert that autonomy, what is she doing with it? She is hurting her mother, basically. Like, she came from violence, and so she feels like to have that power back, she has to enact that same amount of abuse back to her. So yeah,
which is the cliche that the abused, are going to perpetuate that same abuse again. And that, unfortunately, that in order to feel like you are freeing yourself and liberate yourself, you got to do it through revolution or through violence.
Yeah, and then right after that, we get the introduction of Tick. Finally, the main character of the show finally shows up.
He's in the show?
28 minutes in.
Yeah, you could actually cut a piece of this show up into that point, and it could be a totally different show.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think if they hadn't focused on the Gia character and just made it from Tick's point of view, I think things would be a lot more solidified by the end of it. By the end of the story, the show definitely wanted there to be both sides of the content. They wanted us to see everyone's as many different points of view as possible, so that by the time we get to the end of the episode, we don't know what is right and what is wrong. Because we love everybody, we love all these characters, and we love where they're coming from. But also, we just want you all to love each other and be together. But we understand why you can't. But we just want you.
Kumbaya, Kumiho. I think, honestly, but I also think that we wouldn't have invested in Gia's character as much, though. No, I think had we started with Tick, we already have history, and so we already have bias to Tick's character, and therefore that would have already painted her in a certain type of light, and we would have approached her a certain way, and I think we would have put restrictions on her, similar, again, back to this whole thing with her mom, who basically gives her parameters on who she is, what she is, and what she can do. And I think by them, they did a great job of humanizing her character, because again, we don't know anything about her. We've seen glimpses of her, but when they started her in that theater, they immediately, in that brief moment, made her relatable, and they made her a sympathetic character immediately. So much so that by the time we get to her exploding this dude at orgasm, she's a monster. And we're still on board with her story. There may be some people who that might have been enough to make them, divest from her character. But I can tell you, I was still 100% on board, because now the pathos and the gravitas of it were heightened exponentially. But I'm still concerned about that little girl. I'm still concerned about Gia. And also because she's not operating in her own office. This is all being forced upon her. She's being forced upon by her mom to have to save the family. And then now that this spirit inhabits her, then she's being forced upon by this spirit in order to conclude her mission.
Yeah. And us knowing storytelling and knowing where the story must go from here, when we see Tick enter the picture, we're like, oh shit, here comes the hero. Well, no, she's got one more soul to go and the hero of the story just showed up, and we know something happens between them. So like, I mean, I would like the show could have gone a bunch of ways. It could have been possible that Tick doesn't come back from Korea, and the person that we've been following this whole time was just like some other
iteration,
some other version of Tick, or another Kumiho in the form of like Tick just becomes a male succubus going to America, and like like again, the show could have done it.
But you're right. We know that these two worlds are going to collide. It's funny because in that scene, I think one of the first I was already anticipating. I'm like, oh, that's Tick. Oh, that's Tick. Oh, that's Tick. I was waiting for whoever's going to come in. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be Tick. That's going to be Tick. That's going to be Tick. And again, subverting our expectations, Tick comes in, and as far as an introduction of heroes go, this is a standalone one.
Yeah. It does because it does the same thing that you said that it did to Kumiho, right? Like we get on her side, and then we watch her kill a man, and so when it brings in Tick, we're already on his side because we've watched 5 episodes of him like being a hero. And he's
problematic.
Ass.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
he is somewhat problematic, and there are certain things that we love about him, and there's certain things that we're not as fond about. We do know that something has happened in the war that has transformed this man significantly, and is the thing that is chasing him. Yeah, for sure.
So we know that this is an early version of Tick,
right?
But we don't, and like he says he did bad things. We don't know necessarily what degree that was. But then he shows up and he shoots an innocent woman in the head.
And I mean, he does it point blank, unflinching. He doesn't pause. They cut to a shot of his face, and
it's like he stepped on a bug.
Right. He spit gum out just before he did it, and he pulled that trigger with the exact same amount of conscience. It is jarring, and I'm confident that some people that drew a line in the sand for them with this character that they are not going to be able to find their way back to. And this is that bold move that I've said I wanted to see done because I love it, but rarely is it actually attempted, because you basically have made the anti-hero not even the villain. It's something that I call the unforgivable act, because I have a line too where if a character commits the unforgivable act, I can no longer pull or root for this character to win. And that should have been that moment with him, except that for me, I put it in context. You can't look at a person in wartime from a perspective that's not wartime. There's nothing that makes sense about war. There's nothing about being trained to go and kill someone you don't know and you've never met, based upon orders. That's it. You're trained to perform orders. That's it. There's no sense of ethics to that at all. None of this is about condoning the behavior, but you can't bring ethics into that act when it literally is kill this person because you're commanded to do it, and the only thing separating you is uniform and everything else that represents. So, this idea that how could he do that? It's unforgivable, but in context, he was a soldier. He followed orders. And again, I know it's very hard for somebody to hear because they just feel like that means you're condoning it. And I'm not in any way at all. It is still murder and it is unforgivable. But in his office of what he was doing, he did what he was there to do. And that makes sense for the context that he's in. Not legitimizes it.
Yeah. It's not
for his character.
It's not condoning murder. It is it is condemning what war does to a person.
Right.
Because we know that, I mean, we can probably assume that Tick, based on what characters have said about him, he was just a well-read, skinny little boy who wanted to escape his father, and then when he
did a lot of push-ups,
and did a lot of push-ups when he gets to the war, and then everything that everyone is telling him after that point is you need to shed away that emotion, you need to follow orders, you need to do, especially him being like a black man joining the army, and like, I think I think his commanding officer was a black man also, but like they're probably
in this instance,
like they're probably not getting like well treated in the 1950s, and they probably escaped some, and they escape some of that when they go to Korea, but there's still those problems there, and so everything that's happened to Tick up until this point has probably been telling him like you need to be less human, you need to just follow orders, you are nothing but a body that needs to go out and point and click.
Well, America has been telling him that.
Yeah.
Before he goes to the war, you are army issue or government issue at best, and that's only when we put this stamp on you to make you our fodder. other than that, America has not owned him as a person or said that you have value. And not that, he's also running from a father who has been trying to beat his identity, who's actually projecting on him and trying to beat himself through his son. So he's got that abuse as well. And then you come to, this situation where, like you said, I agree with you that the first time that this is done, I'm sure that there is I'm sure you wrestle with yourself morally or what have you. But we don't know at this point how long he's been there. You don't know, like you said, what war does as it transforms you into the creature you need to be in order to survive that circumstance. This show also has intentionally been dethroning the hero.
Yes.
That's been very intentional. So he comes in here as a depiction. So again, the United States occupying Korea was supposedly the hero, but not for the people who live there.
Yeah.
So again, it's the same thing. He comes in and this is not the hero that we need.
Yeah, when Tick and Gia meet for the first time, they are both monsters.
Yes.
They are both, as the world would probably see them outside of whatever they've been through, they are both just these killers that cannot be redeemed into any degree whatsoever. And it's actually probably what they feel about themselves as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure we see it later on, because after this scene, Gia has to go back to living her life after losing her best friend. And we get that scene in the hospital where all the soldiers are coming in, and it looks like they just brought in a bunch of injured soldiers, and people are like trying to perform triage and trying to help all these guys. And then Gia sees Tick lying on one of the beds, and he's all bruised and bloodied. He's injured. And even after that, he's just sitting by himself dealing with his injuries, trying to read a book, and he's just like kind of pathetic.
He's super pathetic.
Yeah.
He is immobilized, he's emasculated, and he's helpless, and he is a baby.
And this is literally like 2 minutes after we just saw him shoot an innocent woman in the head. Like, again, the show is just dips and dives when it comes to the monstrosities of these characters and then the humanity of them. And it's really beautiful how it's done, and it's just written very well. It's shot very well. Like, we get this close-up shot of Tick's face, and like half of it is just bruised, and he can't even open his right eye, and he's just crying to himself. Shout out to Jonathan Majors. I think he's a terrific actor.
Oh yeah,
can't wait to see him.
Does an amazing job.
Can't wait to see him
in the Marvel universe.
Kang the Conqueror. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And then we start seeing like Gia decides, I'm going to kill him. He's one of the people responsible for my friend's death. I am going to consume my 100th soul, and it's going to be this soldier. Also, though, there's the idea that his body was weaponized in its virility, but then when he's immobilized, we get back to the underlying humanity. Yeah. Yeah, well, and I thought it was cool that I didn't catch it initially, even though it was very obvious, but that if anybody was going to be able to find the humanity inside of a monster or inside of somebody's monstrous actions, who better than Gia? Exactly, right? Because I don't think this would have worked out if they were both not wrestling with the fact that we're not wrestling with their humanity, and monstrosities weren't wrestling against each other. Right. If either one of them was fully invested in, I am going to embrace the darkness and I'm going to just go deep into the tempest, then this wouldn't have worked. But they were both struggling, and they both had the capacity to see more in each other. And isn't that beautiful? Isn't that what love is all about? That we come bruised, broken, destroyed, tattered, and torn by all of life's vicissitudes, and then somebody looks beyond the bandages and beyond the blood and beyond the brokenness and says, you know what? I see that beautiful beating heart underneath, and it's speaking to me in a language that only I can recognize and understand. Yeah. I think one of the things that really got me was their connection over the Count of Monte Cristo. Monte Cristo, yeah. And the idea that, and an interesting thing that Tick had brought up when they were discussing the book was that it was his father's favorite book. It was Montrose's favorite, and he came up with a bunch of different reasons as to why. Like, maybe it was just because it was written by a black man. Maybe it was because it's a story about revenge against your oppressors. Multiple reasons. I do think it's really interesting that it was Montrose's favorite book. We're seeing that like Montrose is also the monster in this situation, yet he still has these redeeming qualities going along with like Tick and Gia and Gia's mom, and it's amazing. And of course, this idea with the Count of Monte Cristo, I thought it was, again, masterfully done. This idea that she had seen the movie and hadn't read the book, and Tick was able to bring to her attention that there are two different endings. And
this idea of Montrose is definitely a leper messiah. He is definitely another one who is a deconstruction. I can't really call him a hero, but he's a supposed to be hero. He should be the hero for his son, and he is not. Much like Gia's mother is not the hero for her, and also that her mother didn't protect her. You know, these are two people who are both coming back again from histories where the person you needed to rely on the most is the person who did the most damage to you. What does the rest of the world possibly hold for you when the first person that you actually, you know, when you part the matrix and come out, the safety in the sanctuary there is not that. You come straight into a hellscape and you come right into attack. Mm-hmm. You come into war, essentially. Yeah. And then spend the rest of your life running through.
I think what we're definitely seeing is that both Gia and Atticus are coming from a cycle of abuse. Mm-hmm. And at first, they're both just along for the ride. They're a part of the cycle. They are still throwing out as much abuse as their parents did. And then
they don't think they have a choice.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't
exactly.
feel like they have autonomy, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure their parents didn't either. Like, I mean, that's the thing. That's what makes it a cycle, right? Like, no one knows. No one actively chooses to do these terrible things. It's just that they feel like they have no other choice, and this is something that's true for a lot of people down the line. And but it's not until they get together and through the power of love that they realize that, oh no, we have the choice. We can break the cycle right now, and we can just be together. And yes, we are monsters, but we can do better from here on out.
But we have the capacity to evolve. Mm-hmm. You know, the tether between the two of them is they both are seeking escape. You know, Atticus has literature for his escape, and she had film. And Atticus, the best safe tether he had to his dad would be sharing that book and his love for literature, because that wasn't gender-based. It wasn't about masculinity. It had nothing to do with your sexual identity. It was literature. It was a safe place we can both invest in a thing and share and have some semblance of legacy, if you will, between us. And that was in those pages, you know, because at least there you can dream it to be the way that you want it to be, as opposed to being stuck in the nightmare of the loop that they were both in. And that's really, again, it's great that they came together, had so many things in common, had these same paths. And I love the idea that it was simply, we are both monsters. Mm-hmm.
And I clearly, I just thought of this right now. I think it's also interesting that they seek each other when those escapes that you talked about, when they lose them, right? Like
are removed.
Yeah,
right. He can't read because his glasses are shattered to shit.
And then the movie theater gets closed because the owners are accused of being communist sympathizers. And so like she doesn't have her movies, he doesn't have her books, but they do have each other now. And that's what we see. We see the blooming relationship happening. We see Tick do the special movie screening of
oh my God,
the Gene Kelly Judy Garland movie.
Let's talk about this for a minute, because again, the layers. So in order for her to get onto the base to see Tick for this date, they basically have to set up this fallacy that she's essentially just a street hooker that they're bringing onto the base. So again, it is a woman who's coming into the company of men who are then casting on her this definition, this tawdry definition
that
of
she's less human.
Right. And then bringing her into a very unsafe space, so it seems. And again, in my mind, I said, if he plays a movie on a projector, I'm going to lose my mind, because that is going to be so sweet and romantic and tender and loving. And I'm going to, like, the man exploded in the viscera, I'm going to do it for different reasons. And when that shit happened, I was like, oh my God. And I don't know, again, I can't speak for anybody else, but at that moment, I am not aware of his monstrosity. I'm not aware of her monstrosity. I'm seeing two people of flesh that, and there's still war going on. You know what I'm saying? There's still tanks and chaos and nonsense, and they're in an army base, which is still not safe, but within the cocoon of our little love cove, if you will. At that moment, this is a force field within which all things are possible, and that everything, and it's funny because like you said before, like, we're not everything that we were, you know what I mean? We can still be more and be different and change. But when they lost their escapes, he lost his book, she lost her movies, then we now are the time capsule of our experience. And so that's what we then now can invest in each other, that we can now be the actual portal by which I pull you into the best and the beauty of my experience.
Yeah, yes, those things that we've been through made us who we are, but that does not dictate us for the rest of our lives.
Right.
Because they found each other, it just leads to this really beautiful relationship that we see. And and then we see them get together. We see that when Gia is finally able to, like, her tails don't have to come out when she has sex.
Well, it shows that she has control, to some degree, over them when they manifest.
Yeah, I have a theory. This has to do with like the second to last scene, but like at the very least, when the man comes to climax, her tails don't have to come out. I feel like in that last scene, when that last time they were together, when the tails do come out, it's because she got a little bit too excited. She came to
climax.
Yeah, I feel like she lost a little bit of control, because that might have been her first orgasm.
I agree with that. Well, I mean, you see, again, with the beauty and the poetry of him setting up through Uncle George's contacts this private viewing, and again, so foreign film, so classic, so beautiful, so romantic,
and it's thanks to Tick using the father that he would have wanted, the father that he prefers, instead of the father that he ran away from.
Right, which is actually a great point, because the father that he preferred set up a scenario where he was able to be the him that he prefers to be, or his idealized self, which is amazing. Great writing, just great writing. Oh man, yeah, that's fantastic. But yeah, so I think that's a good theory, because it's definitely when they came to climax is when she definitely consumed their souls. And in that last one,
but then like she bumps heads with her mother again, right? Because like her mother expects you have to kill this American soldier for the things that he did, the things that he did to your best friend. And then Gia's the things that we're saying, Gia says them out loud. Like, why can't I be me? Why do I have to be what you want me to be? Why do I have to do this thing? I am still your daughter no matter what. I did these horrible things because you told me to. And this goes into like her confrontation in the first time she confronted her about it too, where it's like, you're just as much a monster. You sat back and let horrible things happen to me, and that turned me into the things that I am. And then
your solution was for me to become a monster on top of that.
Yes, and like, so what she's basically telling her mother, like, what right do you have to call me a monster?
Right. Without examining the fact that I've come from a monster.
Exactly. And here I am actively making a choice to not be a monster anymore, to find love. You told me that I couldn't feel, that I didn't have emotion, that I wasn't human, but yet I found these people, I found this man who can actually like bring that out of me, who makes me feel love and feel human like you never could.
For the first time. And watching Jamie Chung again struggle with those feelings and those emotions, because I feel like even with the beauty of what happened with the private movie screen, it looked like there was a part of her that still was on the mission to kill him. When she takes him home to seduce him first time.
I think that very first time, even with that lovely day and everything like that, I think she was fully intending on killing him up to that point, and then
when he put that, when he started putting that chocolate stroke on her, boy, that changed everything. All of a sudden, I see possibilities.
No, he deserves to live. He deserves to live.
Yeah. He got to live. Even a demon knows that good stroke is hard to find. But they still double down yet again. And just in case the movie didn't work for you, the private screening didn't work for you, what could be more humanizing than Tick is a virgin?
Yeah, and he is by horror movie definition, he is the innocent.
Yes. And the way he sets it up is so genuine and earnest that, again, how do you juxtapose his introduction with this person who's here and his explanation, like, I just want to be honest with you, like, you're making me feel something I didn't know I could feel. And again, they are mirrors, and that's the thing I love so much about it, that they were mirroring each other. The idea that she's a monster, but again, she doesn't really have autonomy. She's doing it. It was imposed on her. And the idea of him being a monster because of the war, because it was imposed on him. Like, they literally are mirroring each other in their monstrosity for whatever his count is and her body count is. Neither one of them was doing it of their own accord.
Yeah. And him telling her that he's a virgin, it's him being vulnerable. It's him giving up whatever power he has, whatever status that he might have, and kind of giving it up to her. Like, she even like just tosses him onto the bed and says, "I'm not," and then starts striding him. And I think it's also an interesting dichotomy compared to Tick's first time with Letty, because Letty was the virgin in that situation,
right?
And I remember thinking to myself, watching the episode where Tick and Letty get together, I was like, Tick, that was her first time, and that's what you do, is just like a good like 30 seconds, and then like, no matter how good that was, man, you can't do better. I was mad at Tick.
Tick didn't represent too well. Well, I think there are countless millions of women in America that will probably beg to differ with you, because I do think that they get caught up in something that the appearance of something in the concept. But I feel you though. Yeah, he could have went stronger.
I would say like Letty deserved better for her first time.
Yeah, they may have to get the Ori or the multiverse machine and go back and do that over.
Yeah. But yeah, so and then we see the relationship flourish, and then we see things are good, things are happy, things are actually going okay. So now we know that something terrible must happen.
Has to happen. Absolutely.
And that comes from the situation back at Gia's house, where I believe like she got a little bit too excited and her tails came out and they get revealed to Tick. And then she does the suction cup eye thing, and she sees Tick's life flash before his eyes. She sees him getting beatings from Montrose. She sees she sees them torturing. I think it was young Ja that they were torturing in that situation. I couldn't quite tell because it was kind of intense. And then she sees things that are going to happen in future episodes. She sees
for the first time. Now this is the first time we see her seeing the future. With all the other people, she saw their past up until their current. But with Tick, for some reason, she actually was able to see into the future.
Yeah, and I think it's because she's seeing their whole lives flash before her, right? It's like she's absorbing their soul, she's taking everything that they are, and I guess it's one of those things where like time is a construct, time is a flat circle. Time is one of those things where like, because Tick doesn't die here, she sees their whole lives no matter what. So she sees things that happen in the future, because she wasn't seeing anything that happens in the future for those other guys, because that was the last moment of their lives, right? So she's seeing Tick's life flash before her eyes, and that includes him getting baptized in the church, him ultimately dying during the Braithwaite ritual.
Soul extraction. Yeah, for sure.
And Tick, reasonably freaks out.
Is it reasonable? That this is on the table. So this is the question.
Yeah.
Is it reasonable?
I was hoping it would come to this.
Is it reasonable? Can you not get over the nine tails?
I feel like she did try to talk about it ahead of time.
She tried to set him up.
She tried like, hey, look, you want to read this story about the Kumiho? Is this nine-tailed fox
spirit? What the hell am I reading this for? Okay. This is a far cry from the Count of Monte Cristo, but anything you say, baby.
I think she tried to ease him into it, but
she was trying to ease him into it.
It's one of those situations in a relationship where like she's aware of everything about Tick, right? Like I don't think Tick has really held back anything at this point. Like she knows what he did.
She's seen the worst of him.
Yeah, she's seen it, and he hasn't quite seen that out of her yet.
No. When is the appropriate time to tell somebody you got nine tails?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know when that could have been.
Is there a good time?
But I will tell you, the best time is definitely not the time when you're in the middle of the act.
Not as you're about to bust. Okay, that might be arguable. I don't know. I mean, I have to say honestly, I did feel a little upset that like he just bolted out of there and had no recourse at all to try and figure. And get me, I'm saying this as a romantic and just watching it from the outside, far removed. Quite naturally, I'm sure in real life he did the right thing.
And it happened because like it's the show gave you everything you needed to justify like why he left immediately, right? Like even before they're together, and say he tells her, I have enough points to go back home. Right, like I don't have to stay here anymore. You can come with me, or something like that. Like we can be together forever. I want that.
Right.
And then this happens, and I'm sure the very first thing he thought of when he ran out that door out into the street buck naked was
she got nine tails.
She got nine tails. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going home. Fuck this shit. I will never want to think about this ever again. And that's basically what happened. He had if Tick hadn't had enough points and he had to stay and he just had to walk around Korea for a couple weeks,
then I think he could have settled with the idea and kind of eased into it, and they could have sat down and had a few coffees and some discussions, and I think they could have worked out. In the immediate though, it is probably quite shocking, and probably the kind of thing that it could be a deal breaker. It could be a deal breaker.
Yeah,
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, it was the worst situation that can happen, and it was just in the right circumstances where no one ever had to think about it ever again. And we do know that it did get to Tick to some degree, because like even after that experience, he still calls Gia randomly. We don't know how often that happens. Like I think he called her once when they were at the Braithwaite house, but who knows like if he's been doing that over again. And she tried to warn him. She tried to warn him like, you shouldn't have gone back home. You're gonna die.
Yeah. I mean that again, as far as these literal and metaphorical, that is a soul tie. Their souls are tied together for sure.
Yeah, whether it's romantically or not anymore, like Tick says in the finale, like we're family now. Like we
family now.
We both.
You can't put your two of your tail suction cups on my eyes, and we're not gonna be family. We may be distant relatives, but we still family.
We are family both in the literal and metaphorical now, because I think Tick brings it up in the end. Like, we've been through so much, we've done some terrible things, and that makes we're all together in this now.
Yeah, but the love is still real.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know, and I don't know.
He tried to deny it, but yeah, it's still there.
I mean, he had to. I think he was in a position that, unfortunately, men have found themselves in, and I think he needed to and he had to, but unfortunately, he also was able to go back and correct that. He had that opportunity. If love is that strong and that powerful, and you are cognizant of your own demons, who are we to then put the hierarchy, and what are those hierarchies? I'm not saying we have to get into that, but it's like, to say, that your sin is worse than mine. And then I guess this isn't even so much about the sin of it. I guess it's just more what remains of it, and can I live with that when it expresses itself? And I don't know if that speaks to anger, hostility, neuroses, psychosis. I don't know what that. I'm not sure what the illusion of that would be, but I guess that seems to be the question. What's too much?
I've always been of the mind that you can't compare people's pain, and everyone is bringing different things to the table. The things that count the most are what they do with that from there on, and whether they choose to continue the cycle of violence, where they choose to take that pain, either internalize it and use it as a weapon against folks, or whether they choose to grow from it and try to make things better from everyone. Because I think a lot of the times what happens is people take that pain and they try to express it and use it on other people, right? Like, I went through this, so if you end up going through this, it's basically what you deserve. Like, I'm who I am because of this pain. If you want to be on my level, you have to go through that same pain, which is nonsense to my thinking, right? Because it's like that doesn't help anybody. You should be able to take that pain and use it as a way to make sure that no one ever has to go through it ever again.
See, those are the two things that we mentioned before. Only this time it makes me think about parents. The parents that were like, who don't teach you how to avoid a pitfall, but they're like, oh, I went through it. You need to also go through it so that you can also build yourself up and gain your own sense of self, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. That's that whole I'll throw you in the ocean and you'll learn to swim mentality. But then also,
like, teach me how to swim. If you teach me how to swim now, I will become a better swimmer than you ever were.
Right.
Because now both of our energies are being put towards this goal, right? So, like, you went through that. Yes, let me take my experience and your experience and make something better out of it. Don't
let your pain have purpose.
Don't just repeat the same experiment over and over again and think that it's going to make a better result.
Right. Well, we never grow. We never evolve that way, because you're just going to perpetuate the same madness. And it was what we said before, again, the idea that, when the oppressed becomes the oppressor.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a good show. Such a good show.
Yeah, it's great. Fantastic. Good stuff.
The final landmark episode. The final scene of this episode is Uma and...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. The scene where they meet and actually... when they actually meet, when she comes there to tell him... that he killed her friend and that she knew about it.
Yeah.
Again, it's awesome the way that what is essentially a breakup scene becomes a scene that pulls them together and they fall in love. You don't see this done.
Again, that's one of those things that we don't see enough in media, where it's like, it's people communicating with each other. It's people.
Oh my God.
It's people saying what we all know and that what should be said, and doing it in a way that brings them together. Like,
being transparent, being honest, but also standing in it together.
They're not internalizing that pain. They're using it as a way to reconcile and accomplish that ultimate goal,
and bring themselves closer together, instead of it being, I'm attacking you, you're coming at me, and it puts us at odds and it makes us defensive and it ostracizes us. They actually used it in a way to break down barriers that caused them to fuse their souls together. That shit was amazing.
Yeah. Like, I turned you away because of the things you did, but then I still love you anyways. and oh man, yeah, it's a great show.
That was awesome. They can get an award for that alone.
But yeah, the final scene is them talking with the Mudang to figure out exactly what Gia's visions mean. If it means that Tick is definitely going to die, which is like it's meant to be as a tease to what happens later on in the show to get us ready for future events. But
and the Mudang, who is clearly taking all of her fashion her fashion cues from Erykah Badu. When that hat came up, if that had been Erykah Badu, I would have howled. I'd still be screaming right now. Oh man, fantastic!
I feel like Erykah Badu is going to end up on the show eventually. Like she wasn't in the Hippolyta episode, was she? I wouldn't be surprised if she was.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't in there somewhere.
Erykah Badu plays Beyonce. She's the.
Thank you. That was exactly what I was about to say. That's exactly what I was about to say. Oh man, but yeah, this show, this was my favorite episode by far. I loved everything about it. It just had all the elements. It was love, romance. And then they brought the mysticism and the fantastic and the horror. This was such a satisfying episode from beginning to end. It tackled very difficult things, and it set up an impossibility in the middle that I don't think most people can pull out of. And some fans probably will have not. Some fans probably will never forgive Tick and will never see him the same throughout the rest of this episode. But I just thought this was some masterful work.
Oh yeah, I'm sure an episode where the main character doesn't show up till halfway through, and that first half is spoken almost entirely in Korean. I'm sure that turned off a lot of people. I mean, that's the thing about this show.
I was thinking more him just shooting the innocent woman in the head. But yeah, Korean a half hour show.
Here's the thing. Like I think there are more people who got turned off by who got turned off by like technicalities than they did by violence. Sadly,
that's interesting.
Especially watching the HBO show, I'm sure that ended up happening. Like, there were more people turned off by the subtitles than there were by the violence of the episode.
And speaking of the subtitles, my favorite thing about the subtitles is when it says something like disquieting music. The descriptions of music are priceless. I almost will start watching everything in subtitles now because some of those descriptions are just classic.
Yeah, and maybe one last thing is like the show does a really good job of using like anachronisms. We see in other episodes where like a hip hop track will come on
right
during a scene. In this one, they had used an interview with Judy Garland as they were walking towards the Mudang, and you hear an old interview. You hear an interview with Judy Garland later in her career as like as Gia is like staring down the fox on the snowfield, which is just beautiful imagery and it's all about like the perceptions that people have of you and trying to grow and maybe like expand out of those preconceived notions that people put on you.
But it's also coming from the voice of a very tragic figure.
Yes.
Whom the industry itself and that thing that could have been her savior was probably the very thing that ultimately discarded her, chewed her up, spit her out, and then left her a very damaged and again a hopeless and tragic version of herself. I thought it was one of the more effective and brilliantly used of the anachronistic voiceovers. I thought it tied this episode up in a way that was so sad and poignant and that perfectly suitable for everything that happened, and how crushing it was that when they went to the Mudang and the Mudang basically was telling her that you are concerned about human issues. That doesn't apply to you. This ain't your lane.
It's the Mudang coming from the other side of it, right? It's her telling us like, no, be a monster. Why would you want to be something as small as a human? Grow from that, embrace the darkness and become something greater.
But it also just seemed like she was really dashing the possibility that she was anything other than the monster.
Yeah. But
that you really don't have that option.
Yeah, from the Mudang's point of view, that's not a bad thing. So we have like 3 points of views happening on this mountaintop, which is really interesting. David, this is great. Do you have any final thoughts on this episode or maybe on the series as a whole? Because we are recording this after the entire show has after the season has finished, after the finale and everything like that. So if you have any final thoughts or anything you want to get out.
I think I really don't want to repeat any of the cliches. Obviously, people like this is the most important show in the past decade. This is must-watch, seminal viewing, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is true. Again, it hasn't been totally satisfying. I think, but again, I think that the things that it has attempted to do, even with stuff like gore, for example, because I'm not a gore hound, but I found that they have always found a way to use the gore in a way that is so substantial and meaningful, and that is always infused with it's always used with a purpose that is so worth it. That the payoff of it.
It doesn't fetishize.
It's not just gratuity for gratuity's sake.
Yeah, it's not fetishizing the violence. It is showing like, no, we're showing you horrible things because horrible things are happening.
Well, that, but then also it also represents something so much more substantial. It's representing dawning an identity in order to find your identity, and then you lose your identity, and the shedding of your skin and the shedding of souls and covenant. And I mean, just, it's always so much more than what it appears to be on the surface. But yes, it is also a very clear depiction of the horrors and the monstrosity of things that are going on all the time, the systemic racism, just all these different things. It's such a gumbo of magnificent elements. But I think it's just, it is mandatory viewing, regardless of what you come out on the other end of it with and how you feel about it. There's always something to derive from it that is unique and encapsulated in an experience that it's going to be very hard. You'd be hard pressed to find in another television series. So
that is high praise.
Love yourself. And
high
watch
praise coming from one David Hepburn. David, this was excellent. If people want to hear more from you, hear more about you, or find out what you happen to be doing out there in the world, where can they find out?
They can find me on Facebook or IG, and they can look up Black Improv Alliance, and anything that we have going on will be on Facebook and on Instagram, and that's about it. Other than that, I might pop up periodically here.
All right, excellent. You are welcome back anytime, my friend. Anytime.
Oh, thank you. This was wonderful. I thank you for giving me the opportunity and the platform to come here and just share some thoughts and some ideas.
All right, thanks for being here, man. Thank you so much. Let's get into it.
Cool.
Remind you to remember the day of horseless carriages and divorceless marriages.
Dear Miss Garland, I presume that in your memory you've enough room to reach infinity or that vicinity.
And that is the episode, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to David for being such a great guest. Episodes like this one really are turning out to be some of my favorites. If you want to follow David, his links will be down in the show notes. Check him out and check out the Black Improv Alliance. They're doing some amazing work in theater performance and comedy, especially with their 100 Black Improvisers initiative. And like I said, click the link down below. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating on iTunes. Tell a friend about the show. If you don't like what we're doing, tell your enemies. I am at Chris Rivero on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to suggest a topic for the show or leave feedback, reach out to me on inmydefensepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to be on the show, you can fill out a form on the website at inmydefensepodcast.com. Before I go, this episode is being released on the day of the 2020 general elections in the US, quite possibly the most important election in many of our lifetimes. If you are listening to this and you haven't voted and you're registered, please consider heading to your registered polling place before the end of the day and making sure your voice is heard. The very first episode of In My Defense was about voting. Go back and listen. Voting isn't sacred. It isn't something that's meant to be hoarded. It's a duty that we as citizens have to make sure as many people as possible are being spoken for and being helped. When there's a bunch of old white men telling you not to do something, in my experience, it's probably the best thing you should be doing above all else. Either way, if we're all still here a week from now, I will see you next week with another geek on the In My Defense podcast.
When you called me dearie, 'twas down where the bluegrass grows. Your lips were sweeter than julep when you wore a tulip, and I wore